Hello, everybody. The purpose of this lecture is this recorded lecture is I wanted to show you a few examples of SQL. As you know, previously we have covered the basics of SQL. I went over uh, the handout and everything. So now I want to take the next step and do some practice questions with you. So for this practice question, I've created this pretty big database, which, as you can see, has multiple tables, around 17, 18 tables in this database. The database, the file, the Word file, which I'll show you in a minute, as well as this video will be uploaded in this week's lecture. So all this, whatever I'm using today, will be available to you when you are watching my video. So let's do some practice SQL questions so as to further our knowledge from what you gained in the last class. So let's look at this database. Let me just give you a little bit review of what this database is. And so this is the other file. These are some of the questions which I'll do today. And then I also have the solutions for you available as well. So this database is a hospital database. And to show you the access ER diagram, these are all the tables in there. So you have employee, physician, person, volunteer, nurse, patient, resident, outpatient, various kinds of treatment, what do you consume, what kind of treatment was performed, staff, and so on and so on. So you have all those available to you. Okay. So before we get started, it has a couple of new things for you. The first one is, if look at the person table right here. And so the person table has person ID, first name, last name, their address, and date. And then the person table is connected to physician, employee, and I think patient. Okay. So it's connected to a lot of tables. So person table is connected to patient, employee, physician, and volunteer. And this is a little bit different thing in this database, so I want you to understand it before we start doing SQL. So if you look at I'm going to pull it out, physician and patient table. So they are connected by person ID, and that same person ID we are calling in patient table as patient ID. So for example, patient ID 2 is exactly same as person ID 2. So, oops. So they are exactly same, patient ID and person ID. Same way, volunteer ID and person ID are same. Physician ID, physician has a person ID as a foreign key. Employer ID and person ID as same. So you can think of this one-to-many relationship. So employer ID is also the primary key and foreign key. Why is a foreign key? Because it's same as person ID. Same way, patient ID is primary key and foreign key. Why is it a foreign key? Because it's same as person ID. So what this allows us to do is that instead of having patient name in patient table, employee names and employee table, volunteer name, address in volunteer table, and same thing for physician, we just created this one big table for person, and then just associated that with different various kinds of actors in our database, which are patient, employee, volunteer, and physician. So that's something differently we are doing. And same thing for staff as well. Okay. Let's now bring it back. So as I've mentioned many times before, let's say you are a database analyst, you are now working on this database to answer some queries, find some kind of data, and we are not, like, as a database analyst, I don't know how this hospital works. I don't know where what data is. So for example, the first question is, provide a list of LPNs. I might be the best person with SQL, but I don't even know what that is. What is LPN? So that's the reason we should have some understanding of ER diagrams, and we should have some documentation, so that first we explore this database and look at this various ER diagrams to understand how things are arranged. Like for example, I just showed you how the names are arranged. Even the names of every actor is in person table, even though they could be employee, patient, technician, and so on. Same way, we have to explore a little bit. Okay, we have something called case center ID. What is this perform and treatment? So you have to have, this is called gaining domain knowledge, business knowledge, before we can apply our SQL. So for example, once you start studying it, you'll understand, okay, so treatment ID is the kind of treatments which our hospital can do. So our hospital can do all these kinds of treatment, laboratory, surgery, rehabilitation, physical, mental, and so on. But performs are those treatments which has been really done in the hospital. So in a hospital, we might be able to do 10 different kind of treatments, but we might have done only 4 or 5 in last few years. Same way, for example, in university, we might have multiple courses, but in a fall semester, only a few particular courses are being performed or offered and things like that. So the first step before we can do any SQL is to understand the database, and for that we need to have a ER diagram. Go through ER diagram, see how various tables are related to each other, what kind of data information is available. If we don't know something, we have to ask the business people, can you tell me what is an LPN? So business person will tell me LPN is a certification which nurses get. Oh, okay. So nurses certificate. So open that. Oh, so that's what one kind of certificates which nurse gets are called LPN. So that would be our starting point. So these are some of the practice questions we're going to do. Let's start with the first one. Provide a count of LPNs. So what is the LPN? The business person tells you LPN is a type of certification nurses get. And of course, in a real world environment, you cannot just open the table like that. So we will have this ER diagram. And what we will do is, first thing we'll do is select star from nurse table. Okay. So this is what LPN is. Okay. Let's go back, modify. We want, what do we want? A count of LPN. I'm going to move this here so I can see it. Count is an aggregate function, just like your question number 2 on chapter 7 in assignment. Count from nurse. Okay. When I run this, it will give me the count of all the records. I don't want count of all the records, or you can say certificate. I'm bad with spelling. 12. I don't want the count of all the certificates. I want only where the certificate is equal to LPN 4. Is that the right answer? Just I'm gonna see 1 LPN, 2, 3, 4. Yes, that is the right answer. But again, you get expression 1000. Why? Because we use an aggregate function. There is no field call count. So I'm gonna call it as LPN count. Run it. So that's the answer to that first question. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna call it query 1 LPN. Okay, guys. Let's go to the question number 2. What's our question number 2? Provide the total number of hours worked at Care Center AE during the week of 1 of year 2004. Okay, pretty. So I'm gonna close this. I will need that. Okay. Next query. What do I need to answer? I'm gonna just copy that here. Okay, that's the question I'm trying to answer. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is look at Care Center. Okay, so there's something called Care Center right there. Let's open that up. I'm gonna create one more. Select star from Care Center. Let's see what kind of fields there are. Did I misspell Care Center? Oh, it's underscore, sorry. Okay, so I need only those Care Center hours for AE. That's what my question is. And my question was, provide the total number of hours worked at Care Center AE during the first week of 2004. Care Center table does not have the number of hours worked or the date. So it looks like that's not the table I need. I need some other table to answer this question. Let's go back, look at a relationship. Let's see what is Care Center connected to. Connected to nurse, bed. No, that doesn't look like. What is this? Assignment. It has Care Center ID, AE. It has hours, week, and year. Bingo. First, let's do this thing. Let's find out what kind of data is there. Oh, that's what I need. I need AE, hours worked, and for this week, year. So I want to add wherever Care Center is AE, week is 1, add up all this. Let's write this query. Select sum, another aggregate function, hours from table assignment, multiple conditions, where care center is underscore care center, what is it called? Oh, care center, I'm sorry, care center ID is equal to AE. Second condition, week equal to 1 and year equal to 2004. That is what I want. I'm gonna run it. Oh, 2 colons. I just need one. Run. Yep, that bingo. That's what my answer is. So if I add this AE for week 1, that would be my answer. As I'm going to call it as hours AE 2004. Something better. Okay, so let's save it. Call it query 2 AE. Let's go and now answer our third question. What is my third SQL? List all the names of the technicians. Okay, that's not very complicated. Technician, is there a table called technician? Technician right here, right there. Technician does not, if you remember, technician, patient, volunteer, physician, they don't have the names. The names are only in the person table. So let's pull out what we need. I need person because that's where the names are. Employee, technician. Technician is connected to employee, employee to person. So let's write this query. Select from person, which I'm going to call it as P, comma, I'm going to just copy it from here, my solution. Okay. So person as P, employee as E, technician as T. So I listed, I need the name, and since I am now pulling data from person, employee, and technician, because I need only those people's name who are present in technician ID or who are present in the technician table. So I did technician ID. That means I said where technician ID is equal to employee ID. So what that means is that pick only those records where the technician ID is 4, 8, 9, 10. Because I said where technician ID is equal to employee ID. That means out of this whole employee table, where is employee? Where did the employee table go? Out of all these, I am picking up only the records of 4, 8, 9, 10. 4, 8, 9, 10, which are technicians. And then I'm going to then the person table and picking up 4, 8, 9, 10 who are technicians. That's what these two steps does. Run it, and those are the 4 names of our technician. I could have done this in another way, because in SQL you can approach the data multiple ways, where I could have said only employee, and then I don't need this step. Because if you look at the employee table, there is a field there called employee type, right? So I'm going to say where this and e dot employee, how do this, underscore type, yep, underscore type equal to tech nicin technician. That would have also worked. Yep, right then. So 2 ways to do this question. That's our question number 3. Let me save that. Query 3, ECHNICIAN. Let's close this, and this. Okay, let's bring this back. So what is our question number 4 now? Question number 4 is list all the employees along with their nursing certification if they have one. Hint, left join. Oh, so this is left join. So what question number 4 is asking is, here's nurse and employer. Okay. What question number 4 is saying is, give me a list of all the employee IDs, all of them. And if they have any associated record which exists in nurse for them for certificate, show that as well. So that we cannot use what we did in the last question, because there when we said technician, employee and person, we were only looking for common records, person who's technician and employee. Here I'm saying is all the employee, and if they have any nurse certificate, show it, otherwise keep it empty. That's a perfect one for left join. Let's write it, which has a little bit different syntax. Select employee ID. Actually, I should do this. E as employee from employee as E, left join nurse as N, and N dot, that would be certificate. And the syntax of left join says we use on. So what is the common field? Employee ID, which is same as nurse ID, as you can see. Come on. Employee ID and nurse ID, that's how they are connected to each other. Primary key, parent. This is a child. Nurse ID is both a foreign key and primary key. Let's run this. Syntax error. Employee as E, left join nurse as N, on employee, oh, not comma, colon. And we got it. See, number 2, employee is not a nurse, doesn't have any certificate. Employee number 4, no certificate, so it's empty. And that's what the left join does. All the records from the employee table, and if there are any corresponding records in nurse, show that as well. Save that. I'm going to call it query 4 left join cell. Next query. List any, let me get that here. List any outpatients who also have been residents. Okay, so let's see. List any outpatient who has also been resident. So first, let's look for in our table anything called outpatient. Outpatient, oh, right there. So the question is who have also been resident. Okay, is there right there? So that's what I need. So what that question is asking is, when you go to a hospital, outpatient is like you go there, meet your physician, you come back home. Resident is where they admit you for overnight. So the question I want to know is there any patient who in the past, let's say, has been both an outpatient, so once you went to hospital, just saw your doctor, and maybe some other time you were admitted overnight, so you were resident. And so that's what it's the question is asking. That means we need common records from both the table, resident and outpatient. but they are not directly connected to each other. They are connected by patient. So that's why we need this table as well. So select from patient as P-A-T, where's P-A-T-T-I-E-N-T? Come on, as P out patient as O, and the third one was resident as R. The first step you have to do is, when you have more than one table, connect these three tables together. So how are these three tables connected together? Resident and patient ID, resident patient ID and patient ID, and patient ID and outpatient ID. So this is the parent table, two child tables. So where outpatient ID is equal to patient ID, that step connected this to, listed that, and then patient ID is equal to residence patient ID, which is this relationship or step. Okay, so now we are using these three tables. By connecting them together via their foreign key primary key, we have told that only pick up the common records which are across these three tables. So what do I want to list? Outpatient. So I'm going to use the outpatient ID. So O dot outpatient. Is there underscore ID? Let's remove that extra things. Run it. Extra colon. Run it. Number 19. Let's check it. Number 19. I'm gonna go and check it. Does the resident has number 19th? Yes, it does. Does the other one, outpatient, number 19? 2 7 19. No, 2 is not there. 7 is on there. Only 19 is there. So that's the record. That's the answer which we got, which is correct. Save this. And this was query number 5. Out. Okay. Let's answer and do the next query, which is list. This is an interesting one. Okay. List the first and the last name of all of non-Dr. Nicholson patients. So what this question is saying is that list the name of all the patient whose physician is not Dr. Nicholson. Okay. So of course, patient name or physician name is not there. So that's in the person. So we will need the person table. Person table to get the names, patient ID from patient, and I want only those one where the oops, sorry, what's happening here? I want only those where the physician ID is not Dr. Nicholson. So first, let me open person just to explain you this question. Here's Nicholson and his ID looks like is 15. Okay. So the first part of this question you should know by now by doing all this question. What I've done is I have three tables: person, physician, patient, person, physician, patient, because the patient name is coming from the person table, and physician and patient table are there because I want only the a particular patient's only the patient's names, and the reason the physician is there is because we want only those patients whose doctor is not uh, Dr. Nicholson. So that means I'm going to put a condition here where person ID is not equal to 50. That's what we find out from here. How I find it out? Number 15. So Dr. Nicholson is 15. I'm sorry. Uh, yes, 15. And so that's the doctor. But as you will see in your question, we you cannot just get this answer like that. This is called a subquery. So what is a subquery? Subquery is where we write a query inside another query. So I want to know first I want to know the ID of Dr. Nicholson. So select person ID from person table where person last name is Nicholson. Okay, so you run that, you get the answer 15. Then you go back to your main query and you put there 15 right there. But what if I just go back and I copy this query and put this query inside here in brackets like that? And this is called a subquery. When you write a subquery, this gets executed first, and whatever answer comes from here, which would be 15, is fed up in the is sort of fed in the top query, which is this. So this is something new which you have done here, and that's the answer. So this query will get executed first. The answer of that will be 15. It will become like this internally, and then the top query will run. Okay. I'm going to call it query 6 subquery. Okay, next one. This question number 7 and 8, I want you to try yourself. The solution is right there in this document, which I will also upload. But I want to do question number 9 with you, and then I'll expect that you will revise this whole document again. List all employees, that's question number 9, with their year of hire. Okay. Employ. Is there anywhere employ? I thought I saw employ somewhere. Oh, right there. Employ date hired. Yeah, we have that date. So I'm going to write it. Select employ ID from employ and the other thing was there is a field called date hired. run it, employee with their date hired. But let's go back to the question. If you remember the question, we only want the year of hire, not the whole date. How do we do that? Again, SQL has many inbuilt function. So this field from a table which is coming as a date, and from the date you can pull out only year if you want to, like that. You can even type in month there, things like that. And this year has a predefined meaning for SQL, acts like a function, and now it will only pull out the year from you. But now it's saying it's expression because there's no field called year in the table. So I'm going to call it year of hire. And that's your question number 9. I'm going to save this year of hire. That's your question number 9. Question number 7 uses group. Question number 8 is left join. So I want you to practice them, and then you can play around with this database for some other questions as well. Just think of answering any questions you want and play around. And the purpose of this database, with multiple tables and already a lot of data in them, is so that you can practice with this database and try to try all the SQL queries which we did based on that handout which I gave you, the big handout. So that handout we used on the artist table, gallery table. If you can, I would say use that handout and now practice on this big database as well. So that's the Word document, 9 questions, and the solution is there.